Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session in Reading with Meenakshi. And I am doing an article from Aeon as two, three of my students had shared this article and had asked me to read it with them. So, rather read it for them and explain it. So, let's go on to this one. And it's about Simone Weil, and who was supposed to be a mystic. Mystic is a person who, can see the supernatural, has got powers of the supernatural a little bit, maybe a little magical in that sense. And philosopher, you understand, activist, she was all about, working for the society, etc. And her ethics demand that we look beyond the personal and find the universal. So, looking beyond the personal means just everybody takes care of themselves, right? And their family, etc. And she said that just don't look at yourself, look at the others, look for the others, look out for the others, and work for them. So, let's quickly read this. The short life of Simone Weil, the French philosopher, Christian mystic, and she was Christian by religion, and political activist, was one of, her life was short because she just died at the age of 34, was one of unrelenting, means never stopping, self sacrifice from her childhood to her death. So, till she died, since her childhood, she was always ready for self sacrifice for others. At a very young age, she expressed an aversion. Aversion means a kind of a hatred to luxury. She did not want good things in life. In an action that prefigured her death while still a child, and this is talking about an action that she did, prefigured her death, meaning it kind of showed what her death would be like in some way. While still a child, she refused to move until she was given a heavier burden to carry than her brothers. So, what happened? Children used to carry stuff and all, and she said that I am not going to move, chalengene, I'm not going to walk unless I get a heavier box, a heavier burden than my brothers. Children were carrying stuff, they were helping, and she wanted something heavier than her brother. Means she wanted more to do for others. Her death in Ashford in England in 1943 at just 34 is attributed to her apparent refusal to eat, an act of self-denial. And she died from hunger. And she was self-denial means she refused to eat. She had food, but she thought about the people who were dying, who were hungry, and therefore she stopped eating herself, and in solidarity with starving citizens of occupied France. So in 1943, the war situation was on at that time, and the citizens of France were starving. And she, just to show her solidarity, means her love, her loyalty to them, did not eat, and therefore she died despite suffering from tuberculosis. She had a deadly tuberculosis was incurable in those days, and she was suffering from that, and still she just refused to eat because so many people were starving. For her uncompromising ethical commitments, she never used to compromise her ethics, means her values. Albert Camus described her as only great spirit of our time. So Albert Camus, again a prolific writer, and so he talked about her that she was one of, the only great spirit, because she did only for others of the times. This is certainly more complimentary than her university nicknames of the Red Virgin, the categorical imperative in skirts, or even the Martian. So people called her like the alien, like the Martian in college. People did not like her. If anybody is different, people make fun of them. And so the Red Virgin, again, red here again, because she was for communism, she was for equality of people and things like that. And so therefore people just called her these demeaning names, again making fun of her. And indeed, Wales reported interactions with the other great spirits of those times further underline the force of her personality. But Wales interaction with other great minds, other great people of those times, shows the force of her personality. And Simone de Bever, who attended the Sorbonne at that time, came across her during the Sorbonne, again, the university, the college, came across. So, this guy, Simone, so this person, Simone, came across her during their college student days and describes a conversation with Weil sparked by her response to the famine in China. Now, China was suffering. China, there was a famine, means there was lack of crisis of food crisis. Akal, which we talk about in Hindi, that is famine. So that was happening in China, and Simone talked to this Weil at that time. She declared in no uncertain tones that the only thing that mattered in the world, the revolution, which would feed all the starving people of the earth. So Weil was saying that the starving people of the earth should be fed. That is the only kind of revolution that is important. I retorted. So Simone replied that no less peremptorily, the problem was not to make men happy, but to find reason for their existence. So Simone was trying to be more philosophical, and she said that Simone said that there should be reason for the existence of men, and she was trying to be more stylish and philosophical. But we looked me up and down. So we looked at her in a very angry manner and said, "It's easy to see you've never been hungry." She snapped, means she angrily replied to Simone that you've never been hungry. So you talk about fancy things like the, purpose of life, etc. But the only purpose is to let people not be hungry. That's what, according to Weil, was important. And despite this put down, before Simone admired Weil, and her heart could beat right across the world. The heart could beat right across the world means she could identify. Weil could feel for others across the world, whether it was China, whether it was France, whether it was any country which was suffering, people who were suffering. She could feel their pain across the world, across barriers of religion, of country, and all those kinds of things. And so Biver Simone, she admired Weil, although Weil had scolded her, right? And so now let's move a little forward and try to understand that heart that beat across the world is perhaps why she always remained outside contemporary philosophical trends. So the modern philosophical trends Weil did not talk about, and certainly outside of the academic and elite conversations. Elite means that high society fancy talk. Weil was not interested in that. She wanted something else. Weil's philosophical commitments, while constant, often pale in comparison to her dramatic life and her political engagement. So, what she actually did was much higher. Her action was much higher than her philosophical thinking, etc. She was, so they often pale, means her philosophical ideology, she did not talk about too much. She did the work that was needed to be done. So with her dramatic life and political engagement, so her philosophy was lesser than her action. Her action was much more. Normally kya hota, philosophers may they give more of funda and philosophy, they don't do the action required, they just talk about it. Here she was doing the action and talking less. So she enacted her philosophy with her commitment to the causes, and finally with her body, means her body also suffered according to the philosophy that she was following. This began with her declaration of Bolshevism at the age of 10. She was talking about the Bolsheviks, the Marxians, and all kinds of philosophy. Through to her university involvement in Marxism, trade unionism, and pacifism. Pacifism is the quality, just applicating this again, a political theory. The first commitment declined as she found in Marxism itself plenty to criticize. So again, she found, so she used to look in the theories, in the things that were happened politically, and she was involved, and she found in Marxism she found plenty to criticize. I mean, she saw some negatives there. And though that does not prevent her from joining the Republicans in the Spanish Civil War, albeit rather ineffectual. But still she helped people in the Spanish Civil War. Yet, through all of this, two elements of her character remained constant: her self denial for the sake of others and the strength of her will. So she was constant in her willpower, and she could sacrifice for others, her self denial for the sake of others. So evident means this is shown clearly of this totalizing personality driven self sacrifice are her attempted actions in the Spanish Civil War. She did a lot of things which in the Spanish Civil War, which shows how personality driven her thought was. She was actually physically doing things that was maybe needed or not. So she first tried to join the anarchist Durruti column, but had to be excluded from combat due to her extreme short-sightedness. So she joined the anarchist anarchy again, the persons who were against the rule, so the political rule. She joined them. She joined the column, but had to be excluded. But she could not fight because she was short-sighted, could not see. Short-sighted here means she was suffering from eye problem, and the danger that she would pose to her. Obviously, if a soldier can't see, she can't do combat. Combat means the soldier fighting. She could not do that. Having failed there, she then demanded to be sent out to the anti-fascist commander Julian Gorkin as a covert agent. Then she wanted to be a spy. A covert agent means a spy to rescue the prisoner Joaquin Morin. So she wanted to really help in some way. When she refused, Gorkin commented, as someone obviously not Spanish, she would not be particularly covert, and so self-sacrificing her for nothing. So Gorkin said that you will be caught as you are not Spanish, and therefore you can't be hidden as a spy. Covert means hiding. So you can't do that. Vale replied that she had every right to sacrifice herself. Vale was ready to die, even if it did not help anybody. She was just crazy about, just putting her life for the benefit of others. So this is what is about whale, and so you can read more about it. Obviously it's a long article, and just try to understand her thoughts, etc. This will really help you. I just try to talk about it a little bit with you so that you understand it better. So thank you very much, and take care, all of you. I'm sorry for the delay last few days, just as usual, got busy and stuff. So bye bye, take care. I'll be back again with a new one. Take care.